All right, so we're going to be talking about the art of substitution. Y'all do not realize how difficult putting this class together was for me. I've been working on this for about 2 weeks. The problem is I like going down rabbit holes, and that's not a good thing when you're teaching the class because going down rabbit holes it'll keep you going. You'll never get finished with anything. But we're going to be talking about substitution. Something I've been wanting to do for like last 5 years. Since I've been working on this, I got it up to about 80 slides. We're going to do it in 2 weeks. We're going to be doing half of them this week, and then the other half next Tuesday. Go through all this information. One are complex, all right? Am I frozen? Hello? Can y'all hear me? Can you give me a hands up because I think I lost connection. All right, got it. Thank you, John. All right. So if you don't know about substitution, there's a lot about substitution that we want to cover. A lot of things that people get confused about. So let's go ahead and jump right onto it. Our opening statement, we got to go through this. This is what we do. Players who practice long hours deserve competent game officials who have a complete understanding of the letter as well as the spirit of the law, of the rule. Give me a second. Okay. Players who practice long hours deserve competent game officials who have a complete understanding of the letter as well as the spirit and intent of the rules, who administer them consistently and fairly. In plain English, players train hard, officials are trained harder, right? It's all about what do we do to prepare ourselves to get out here. And again, coming to these things we do here is part of that. But at the same time, we want to know if you're not spending time studying, you're not getting that quality time, then you're doing a big disservice to the kids out there. All right, so let's go through our objectives. Again, this is class 1. We're going to be looking at dead ball through simultaneously with the snap. So we're going to be looking at this one, and then next week we'll get into non-player fouls and then the rest. All right. So one of our objectives today is to define substitution terms. Player, substitute. So why is it so important? We're going to look at the definition of a non-player as well, but the reason why this is so important, this is all part of knowing and understanding the substitution rule. If you don't know these, you're really probably going to mess up on the substitution rules. So it's very important to know these definitions. All right, number 2, to identify substitution fouls before the snap. Dead ball situations such as replace players not leaving within 3 seconds. And to recognize substitution fouls at the snap. Live ball simultaneously fouls such as substitutes not reaching the neutral zone in time. So this is what we're going to be looking at today. So let's introduce you to the cast. These are the cast of the substitutions. I was thinking about a movie, so that's what I came up with. So you got 4 cast members to this substitution movie. You got the player, the substitute, the replaced player, and the non-player. The non-player won't come in until the next week, so we're going to be looking at the other three today. But we're going to define them here in a little bit. All right. So what is a player? A player is one of 22 members who is designated to start either half of the game and who subsequently replaces another player. A player continues to be a player until a substitute enters the field or indicates to the player that he is replaced, or when the substitute otherwise become a player. Now, you might think, okay, that don't mean anything, but when it get down to substitution and understand the substitution rule and what are dead ball fouls, which I didn't think we really enforce, I say it all right up front, you got to know what a player is. So it's weird because when I was doing the preparation for this, I realized that in a game, there's only 22 players at any given time. So I was in the impression that you got players on the sideline, you got players on the field. Well, by definition, those on the sideline are not players. Players are actually ones that are playing. So there's only going to be a maximum of 22 players in a game at any given time. Okay? Pay close attention to when does a player stop becoming a player. Very important. We're going to look at a case play that we're going to look at some more. So what's the next one? A replaced player is one who has been notified by a substitute that he is to leave the field. A player also replaced when an entering substitute become a player. All right. So a replaced player is the one that's leaving. All right. And he's been notified that, hey, I'm coming on the field. You're going out. He's going. And then it also says a player is also replaced when an entering substitute become a player. So somebody has to go. All right. What is a substitute? A substitute is a team member who may replace a player or fill a player vacancy. A substitute becomes a player when he enters the field and communicates with a teammate or a game official, enters the huddle, is in position in a formation, or participate in the play. An entering substitute, and this is very important, this last part here, an entering substitute is not considered to be a player for encroachment restrictions until he's on his team side of the neutral zone. In other words, if a substitute comes on the field and they did not get to their side of the football, all right, their encroachment restrictions do not apply. It only apply once they get to that side, or if he becomes a replaced player. Now, a team member entering the field to fill a player vacancy remains a substitute until he is on his team side of the neutral zone. Okay? We got that. Now, non-player. A non-player is a coach, athlete, trainer, other attendants, a substitute, a replaced player who does not participate by touching the ball, hindering any opponent, or influencing the play. Let's go on. So let's look at some basic foundation for enforcement. And we're going on it because when we hit it, when we go to Rule 3, these are some things you just got to know because they're important to know. All right, there's 8 basic spots, but we're only going to address 2. That's the previous spot, where the ball was last snapped or free kicked, used for fouls simultaneously with the snap. So any foul that is simultaneously with the snap will be enforced from the previous spot. All right, simple. Now, on the other right side, we have the succeeding spot. This is, and if you think about the succeeding spot, this is where the ball will be next snapped or free kicked if a foul has not occurred. So when we're saying, hey, we're going to mark it from the succeeding spot, we're basically saying, where would we be if there wasn't a foul? Where would the ball be snapped from if we pretend that wasn't a foul? Well, that's the succeeding spot, and that's where we enforce uh, certain substitution fouls. It's used for dead ball fouls and non-player fouls. All right, dead ball fouls and non-player fouls. One thing about a succeeding spot or a non-player or dead ball foul, anything like that, they do not erase a score if a touchdown scored. If it still counts, the foul will be enforced on the try free kick. So, unsportsmanlike conduct. Let's say a player came on the field as a non-player and a team scored. Well, guess what? We're not going to take the point off because a player from offense stepped on the field while they had the ball. The touchdown will count, and it'll be forced on the try or the kickoff. All right, let's go on. So now we get into the episode 1. And we're gonna read all these articles, and then we're gonna jump in some good stuff here. But this is what it's all about, guys. You got to love the rules. If you don't love the rules, it's going to be very difficult for you to grow as an official and all that gushy stuff. So, Article 1. Between downs, any number of eligible substitutes may replace players upon meeting the criteria of 232.12. Replace players shall begin to leave the field within 3 seconds. Article 2. A player, replaced player, or a substitute is required to leave the field at the side of which his team box is located and go directly to his team box. Article 3. During the same dead ball interval, no substitute shall become a player and then withdraw, and no player shall withdraw and re-enter as a substitute unless a penalty is accepted, a dead ball foul occurs, there's a change of team possession, or a period ends. Article 4. During a down, a replaced player or substitute attempts unsuccessfully to leave the field and who does not participate in or affect the play constitutes an illegal substitution. Note, participation by a replaced player or a substitute is illegal participation as in 9.6. Article 5. An entering substitute shall be on his team's side of the neutral zone when the ball is snapped or free kicked. In Article 6, during a down, a replaced player or a substitute who enters the field but does not participate constitute illegal substitution. Now, got a question for you. Is it illegal to break the huddle with 12? All right. And I want to just deal with this up front because it has an element of substitution in there. And I know this, we hear coaches all the time say they broke the huddle with 12, blah, 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 blah. But I know we got a lot of new officials. And I know we got a lot of new officials who believe that breaking the huddle with 12 should be a foul, but doesn't really know why we don't call it a foul. All right. They just got to accept the fight. And so this week I asked a couple of officials, do you know why breaking the huddle with 12 is not a foul? All right. And they go, and they tell me, yeah, because it's not a foul. They got 3 seconds. I'm like, yeah, but why is it not a foul? I mean, you're not telling me why is it not a foul. And the answer is simple, but we're going to take the long way around to getting to it. We're not going to take the shortcut. We're going to take the long way around to get to that answer. All right. So if a coach yells, that's a foul, they broke the huddle at 12, what is your response? All right. So in order to get there, we need to define what a rule is. All right. And I got to be, this is a plug-in. And let me describe what a plug-in is. All right. A plug-in is when me, Andre, run off down a rabbit hole a little bit. It's good information, but it's not really dealing with the topic we're speaking of directly, but it's good information to know, and it's going to help us get to where we have to go. All right. So we're going to look at this definition of a rule, and then we're going to allow this definition to get us to our answer. All right. So in Rule 2, Section 37, rule. A rule is one of the groups of regulations which governs the game. A rule sometimes states what a player may do, but if there is no such statement for a given act, such as faking a kick, it is assumed that he may do what is not prohibited. In like manner, a rule sometimes states or implies that the ball is dead or that a foul is involved. If it does not, it is assumed that the ball is live and that no foul has occurred. If a foul is mentioned, it is assumed that it is not part of a double or multiple foul unless so stated or implied. What does all that means? Well, here we go. This is what it means. It's allowed if not forbidden. So basically, if the rule book doesn't say it's forbidden, if the rule book doesn't say it's illegal, then it's assumed that it is legal. All right. Number 2, a ball is live, is not dead. If the rule doesn't say that the ball is dead, like dead by rule, that means play continues. The ball is live. Number 3, no foul if not specified. Now, the 1 and 3 is going to get us to our answer. Is it illegal to break the huddle with 12? All right. No foul if not specified. If the rule doesn't states a foul, then no foul occurred. All right. And number 4, one foul unless stated. A foul is assumed to be a single foul unless stated otherwise. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to jump and look at we're going to look at the NCAA rule about substitution. We're going to look at the NFL rule about substitution, and then we're going to go right back and go over the articles we just read. Now, we just read all 6 of them, and I want you to think about it, and which one of those articles that says breaking the huddle with 12 is illegal. Now, let's go to the NCAA rulebook. So this is in the NCAA rulebook. It says more than 11 players on the field. Team A may not break the huddle with more than 11 players, nor keep more than 11 players in the huddle or in formation for more than 3 seconds. Hey, I seen that word somewhere, that 3 seconds somewhere. Officials shall not stop the action. Officials shall stop the action whether or not the ball has been snapped. All right, dead ball foul, 5 yards from the succeeding spot. And we know the succeeding spot is where the place, if there wasn't a foul, that's where it would have been executed from. All right, so we see here in plain English that you can't break the huddle with more than 11 in the NCAA. It's a 5-yard penalty, right? Let's go to the NFL. The NFL is a little bit more strict, little stricter than the NCAA. It says number of players in huddle. There can never be more than 11 players in the offensive huddle while the play clock is running. If it's a foul, the whistle is blown immediately and the ball remains dead. And it refers to 528A, and all that means is for 12 or more players in the offensive huddle, the whistle is blown immediately and the ball becomes dead, loss of 5 yards from the succeeding spot. All right. So we just looked over the NCAA and the NFL, and they specifically have it in their rules about this 12 players in the huddle or breaking the huddle. So let's go back to the NCAA rulebook. Between downs, any number of eligible substitutes may replace a player upon meeting the criteria of 232.12. Replaced players shall begin to leave the field within 3 seconds. So the question is, does it say that breaking the huddle with 12 is illegal? It does not. And so by the definition of a rule, if it doesn't say it's not illegal, that means it is legal. All right? Plain and simple. If the high school or NFHS, if they wanted breaking the huddle to be illegal, they would have put it in the rule book. Because they did not put it in the rule book, it's not a foul. Because the way I know, everybody knows it's a foul. Why? Because you watch college, because you watch the NFL. That's a whole different ball game, literally. So this directly came out of the NFHS PowerPoint a few years ago. A replaced player shall begin to leave the field within 3 seconds. The 3 seconds begin when a player become a replaced player as defined by 232.12. And a substitute becomes a player as defined by 232.15. It is not a foul to break the huddle with more than 11 players, as long as the replaced player begins to leave the field within 3 seconds. Now, let's put this in a linear fashion here. A team member becomes a substitute when they enter the field. Now, to get to the player, they got to either communicate with a teammate or an official, enter the huddle, take position in formation, or participate. Once they do that, they become a player. Once they become a player, they trigger the replaced player. And the replaced player must start leaving the field within 3 seconds. If the replaced player does not start leaving the field within 3 seconds, we have a 5-yard penalty because they did not leave. It's dead ball, illegal substitution. All right. So what we're saying here is very simple. The rule that we have is a 3-second rule. So what do we mean by that? If a substitute runs into the huddle of 11 players to tell a replaced player, I'm taking your spot. And at that time, when they went to the huddle, they broke the huddle with 12 players. Well, I'm sorry, 11 players and 1 replaced player. It's not a foul. The replaced player should be leaving the field. It is not a foul to break the huddle with 12. So, what is all this in a nutshell? A rule is one of the game regulation which governs the game. If it's not stated in our rule book, it's not a foul. And this is why it's so important that you learn how to read the rule book. Because if you're not reading the rule book, how would you know if it's not in there if you don't read the rule book to find out if it's there? Right? The NFS rules differ from NCAA and NFL. I keep telling you, stop watching college football and coming out there on Saturdays and a Friday night trying to officiate what you see on TV. No foul for breaking the huddle with 12 if a replaced player leaves within 3 seconds. Key point, NFHS rules by inclusion. Silent means an act is not a foul. All right? So, again, breaking the huddle with 12 in NFL is explicitly enforced illegal substitution. NCAA, breaking the huddle, they've been in 12 is illegal substitution. In high school, it's not explicit in huddle, so it's not a foul. The only thing that makes a foul if the replaced player don't leave within 3 seconds. So when a coach yells, that's a foul, they broke the huddle with 12, What's your response? Coach, in high school rules, that is not a foul. They have 3 seconds to leave. Before we move on, I want to touch on something. And I always do this, and I do it all the time. I'm doing it again. Officials sometimes, they come out here and they want to, y'all want to go by, y'all juggling all kind of rules. Y'all got the instant, you can't do this, or you can't do that, and that's illegal, and that's illegal, or and you're mixing the rules up. It's creating frustrating, and it's just definitely driving me crazy. All right, you got to understand that we do not officiate and we do not go by rules that you see on Saturday nights, or Sunday mornings and nights, or Monday nights, or Thursday night football. That stuff does not apply. We have rules that will any person be like, oh, that can't be a rule. That's not a rule, right? So stop trying to juggle all these different rules. There's only one rule you need to know: the NFHS rulebook. Right? Players train by that level, coaches coach from that level, and we need to officiate from that level. All right? The rulebook is our standard, our test, our accountability. That's the book we should be mastering, not trying to look on Fridays and Saturdays and, oh, that's an automatic first down. Why? Because I seen it on Friday. All right? Not true. Now, let's get that out the way. Let's go to episode 2. Now, what we're going to do with this is a little different. Because, like I said before, one of the biggest things I noticed about the substitution rule that people be getting it incorrect, right? And they be trying to enforce something from the wrong spot. Is it a tack on? Is it a previous spot? And I'm telling you something. If you don't get into the rules, and we're doing it now, so you're good. If you stick for this week and next week, you're gonna continue to get this wrong. And again, I've been wanting to do this since 2020. I've been wanting to talk about this substitution because since then people have been getting it wrong, even recently. But before we go there, I want to talk something about the bottom here, the penalty notes. Okay. Now, this is a decoder. The penalty notes, and it's in the rule book, and it's not every place in the rule book at the end of because some things are just not fouls, it's just administrative things. But the penalty notes will give you a couple of things. It will tell you what the articles it pertains to. It will tell you the signal code. It will give you all of that. All right. So let's take the first 2 articles, for example. All right. Article 1, 2, and 3. It tells us that it's an illegal substitution, and it gives us 2 signal codes, S7 and 22. All right. S7 means dead ball. So basically, if you're reading your rule book and you see like illegal shift or illegal false or illegal formation, right? And you go down there and you look down there, if it does not have an S7, that means it's a live ball foul. That means we do not kill it. We let the play go, although it happened before the snap. Okay. S22 tells us the signal. Now, this is the sequence. Referees, this is the sequence you're supposed to give when you're reporting a foul, not what you see in college. Because in college, they do not give a dead ball foul signal when they go false start. In college, they don't give a dead ball signal when they go do encroachment. But we're supposed to give a dead ball signal when we do these fouls. So if you're a white hat and you're on here, know that that is telling you how you're supposed to report it. Now, again, why this is important? Because if we're looking at something and it doesn't give us an S7 in front of it, when we look at the signal code, it's not a dead ball foul. Now, if you look at the rest of these, Article 4 and 5, illegal substitution. It just says S22. 5 yards. Live ball foul. It says live ball foul, which means that we do not kill it when the ball is snapped. We let the play go. We let the play continue. Article 6, illegal substitution. All you see is S22, which means it's not a dead ball foul. All right? We just let the play go. Now, it's time to go another plug-in before we go any further. Because where we're going to learn about this substitution is not in the rule book. It's actually in the case book. And before we get to the details of illegal substitution rule, I want to step back and explain why the case book is so important. All right? Everybody think, oh, I got a rule book, I got a rule book. But do you have a case book? All right? Think of like law school. Law students don't just read the statutes. They study case law to learn how judges actually apply the rules in real situations. That's what happens. That's what helps them to think like a lawyer. These case laws. For us, it's the same. The rule book is our statutes. It tells us black letter law of the game. What legal and what is not. But the case book is where we learn to think like officials. It gives us real game situations and rulings so that we know how to apply the rules under pressure. When the ball is live and the decisions matter. This is why this is what keeps us from making mistakes on Friday night, Saturday mornings. That is not just knowing the rules, is knowing how they're supposed to work in context. And this is why I'm telling you, if you don't read it, first of all, many of y'all probably have rule books. That's bad. You probably have a rule book, you definitely have a case book. That's bad. You need all of it. You need all the resources to be a competent game official. So as we go through today's material, remember the rule book gives us the foundation. The case book teaches us how to build with it. And with that being said, we go into the case book. Because this is the case book that's going to help us understand illegal substitution and the baskets that they belong in. All right, we're going to read the whole thing. All right, in 3.7, a procedure has been adopted to provide an equitable penalty as it relates to illegal substitution. The following are examples of most common situations and rulings. 1, if a replaced player or substitute attempts to leave the field but does not get off prior to the snap, the foul is considered having occurred simultaneously with the snap, and the penalty is enforced from the previous spot. Now, we're going to talk about what simultaneous snap is, but I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit. That means that it doesn't become a foul until the ball is snapped, but this is a live ball foul. I've seen officials, a player run off the field and they kill it. I said, what's going on? He ain't off the field. Yeah, but by rule, we don't kill it. We let it go. Right? We let it go. 2, if a replaced player does not leave the field within 3 seconds, it's a dead ball foul. It's dead ball, illegal substitution foul. Right? Pretty simple. Number 3, if a replaced player or substitute goes off the field on the wrong side of the field during the down, it is a legal substitution, live ball foul. If an entering substitute is not on his team's side of the neutral zone at the snap, it is a legal substitution and is considered to have occurred simultaneously with the snap. If he didn't participate, it becomes a foul for illegal participation. When a replaced player or substitute leave on the wrong side of the field and goes across the end line prior to the snap, it's a dead ball foul for illegal substitution. And number 6, if a replaced player A replaced player or substitute enters the field during the down, but does not participate. It is a foul for illegal substitution by a non-player, a 5-yard penalty from the succeeding spot. So, what we need to do is understand, and this is the way I want my metaphor today is baskets, all right? There are 3 baskets that these fouls go into, all right? 3 baskets. We got the dead ball foul basket, the simultaneous with the snap basket, and the non-player foul basket, right? And one of the reasons why so many officials have an issue is because what they try to do, they try to add all the fouls into one basket, right? They will put the dead ball fouls in the same basket, live ball fouls in the same basket, and the non-player fouls in the same basket when it pertains to substitution, and they don't know which one to enforce because they got them all in the same basket. Well, we need to separate that. Right? We need to put everyone in their own basket because it's by putting them in their own basket we know how to enforce them. If we don't put them in their own basket, we're not going to know how to enforce them. All right? So dead ball fouls go in their basket, live ball fouls go in their basket, a foul assignment to the step go in their basket, and non-player foul goes in this basket. All right? So we're going to talk about dead ball foul. And these are fouls before the snap. All right? In Rule 4, 1 and 2, it says the ball remains dead and the down is not begun if a snap or free kick is attempted before the ball is ready for play, or there's a legal snap or snap infraction or a dead ball foul occurs, like not leaving within 3 seconds, or like going off the field in the wrong direction. Okay, all these are dead ball fouls. A game official shall indicate the ball remains dead by sounding his whistle immediately when a foul occurs before a snap or a free kick. So we know we got dead ball foul, we blow the whistle, we kill the play, and it's very important because when we get the simultaneous snap fouls, we don't. And that's why I'm bringing this up, because they are applied and they're administered differently. All right. So let's look at how it's in the mechanics manual. In the mechanics manual, it's observe and react, right? So you see a dead ball foul, you sound your whistle, you toss your flag in the air, you give a timeout signal, and you let the referee know what happened, and we keep it moving, right? This is how we administer a dead ball foul. Sound the whistle, toss the flag in the air, and we give a timeout signal, all right? Now, again, I'm saying that because when we get the foul simultaneously with the snap, we don't supposed to do that. We only do this for dead ball fouls. So let's talk about these 3 dead ball fouls. The first dead ball foul is replaced player should leave the field, begin to leave the field within 3 seconds. If, again, in the case book, it says if a replaced player do not leave the field within 3 seconds, it's a dead ball foul, illegal substitution, which is in the case book. So pretty simple, but let's look at some cases, right? Because we're lawyers, and we need to look at some case plays, right? Several substitutes enter the field between downs and go to their team huddle. But one replaced player does not leave within 3 seconds and is not detected. Very important. Next Tuesday, I'm gonna bring that is not detected back up. However, when they break the huddle, the replaced player runs toward his sideline and leaves the field just before the ball is snapped. Ruling: it is a legal substitution. Is it a legal substitution because they broke the huddle? No. Look, comments. It's becoming prevalent to see more than 11 players replace players in team huddles or in the defense formation between downs. The replaced player is to leave the field within 3 seconds. And if such a manner it does not confuse or deceive the opponents. Now, this rule actually applies to offense and defense. This is not an offensive foul. this is an offense and defensive foul. So if a defensive substitute comes on the field, a B substitute, and the replaced player does not leave within 3 seconds, you can have a dead ball illegal substitution on them. Now, in common practice, we do not enforce it like this. There's a couple of things we can do preventive wise, but no time we get them up to the snap. But yes, in reality, when a substitute come on the field, they got up to the replaced player has up to 3 seconds to start leaving the field. And then another comment from another case, which, again, we'll read this later on. It says, in the related situations, if the covering official count the players and have determined that there is more than 11 prior to the snap, a dead ball, a legal substitution foul should be charged since the replaced player did not leave within 3 seconds. All right. So if you didn't see it, it wasn't detected. You call it a dead ball foul because the replaced player. And I remember I'd be like, dead ball foul, illegal substitution, 12 and on offense. In actuality, that's not a foul. Okay. There is no foul to have 12 players on the 12 teammates on the field doing a dead ball. It's a foul that a replaced player don't leave within 3 seconds. It is not a foul to have 12 team members on the field doing a dead ball. All right. It's not a foul, I'm going to say it again, to have 12 members on the field doing a dead ball. The only foul is when one of those team members who became a replaced player did not leave the field within 3 seconds. That is the foul. So it should be reported, we got a dead ball foul, a legal substitution on the offense, the replaced player did not leave within 3 seconds. Now, how do we use preventive officiating to squash that? Well, if we're doing our jobs, what we should be doing, offensive referees or linemen, or you see it, is say, hey, someone got to go. So when you see a player come in the huddle, you already know you got 11 in the huddle, and another player come in there, you say right away, someone has to go. This active, oh, I got to go. And hopefully they start leaving the field so that we don't have to have any unnecessary flags, slowing down the game, and keep the game moving. All right, so verbal communication is part of officiating mechanics. Let's look at Article 2 in Basket 1. A replaced player or substitute is required to leave the field at the side on which his team box is located and go directly to his team box. So what does that mean? Well, let's talk about what a sideline is versus an inline. Okay, a sideline is a lateral limit that from field to field, it goes from end zone to end zone and it extends to the end line. All right, so from the end line to end line is what we consider the sideline. So if a replaced player needs to leave the field, they have to leave the field within that area. So on this diagram, you see orange or red, a sub coming in, replaced players leaving. That replaced player cannot go out the part that you see the X. But if they're in the end zone, they can go out of the end zone as long as it's on their sideline. If they go through the end line, it's a dead ball foul for illegal substitution. All right, they only can go through their own sideline. Now, Article 3, during the same dead ball period interval, no substitute shall become a player and then withdraw, and no player shall withdraw and re-enter as a substitute unless a penalty is accepted, a dead ball foul occurs, or there is a charge timeout or a period ends. We call this yo-yo substitution. You in, you out, you out, you in, you out. You can't do that during the same dead ball interval. Now, so a substitute becomes a player the moment he communicates with a player. And the reason, the reason I got this slide, and I was thinking about, like, why do they have this rule, right? Why can't I come in, communicate, and then change my mind? Because could you imagine a coach using a player as a messenger sub? He runs on the field, communicate to the teammates what the coach is trying to tell them because the coach is so far away. And he says, oh, you know what? I don't want to be on the field right now. And he runs back off. So they got a little smart. They said, no, if you come on the field and communicate, you're a player and you have to stay. If you come on the field, you communicate with a referee, you communicate with a teammate, you get information, you cannot leave this field unless somebody call a timeout. You can't leave this field until they have a dead ball foul. You can't leave this field until the end of the period. You cannot leave this field unless the penalty has been accepted. So you have to stay on the field for at least one play. Right? So it's preventing that loophole of somebody running in, giving out some messages, and then running back out. All right? Sub come in, sub stay. Now, I said all this, and we're going to look at the case of withdrawal. This is out of the case book. B11 mistakenly believes he is a team's 12th player and leaves the field before the snap. Now, there's an A to this, but we're going to skip A. We're just going straight to B. On his sideline and enters his team box. B11 then discovers his error and returns to the field on his team's side of the neutral zone before the snap. It says that it's no foul as long as B11 remains a player. Now, we just read about the yo-yo substitution, right? So why is this not a foul? Well, this is why it's important to know the definitions of a player and when a player does not become a player. See, he never became a substitute or replaced player. See, under Rule 231, a team member is a player until replaced. So no one came on the field to replace him. So he remains a player the entire time. He left legally, which means he went on his sideline. He didn't go out the end line, or he didn't go out the other team member's side of the field. I don't know why he do that. Anyways, he didn't do that either. B11 did leave his own sideline. There was no violation occurred. So returning before the snap is allowed. Since he was always a player, returning before the snap does not create a substitution foul. In other words, a player leaves the field is still a player. The only way he was not become a player, let's say he went off the field, B11 went off the field, and let's say B10 came on the field and filled his vacancy. Now, B11 can't come back on the field during that dead ball interval. Unless it's a timeout, a dead ball foul, an end of a period, or an accepted penalty. So if he left and somebody came and replaced him, he can't come back on the field. If he does, it's a dead ball foul. Now, do any of us force this? I don't ever remember me enforcing this rule. But I'm going to teach you the rules no matter what. So what's the takeaway? A mistaken exit on the correct sideline is not a foul as long as the player was never replaced and returns before the snap. All right. Now, we're almost done here. We're talking about fouls simultaneously with the snap. These are fouls that happen at the snap. The biggest thing that you got to understand about fouls simultaneously with the snap is that although you get red antennas that pop up, it can be fixed, right? So any foul that we consider simultaneous with the snap are fouls that can be fixed before the snap. Now, on the football fundamentals, on the dead balls, it says no live ball caused the ball to become dead. All right. And then on the fouls, no live ball foul caused the covering official to sound his whistle. So remember, on the dead ball foul, we sound our whistles immediately. But on fouls simultaneous with the snap, what are considered live ball fouls, we do not blow our whistles immediately. All right. So we're going to look at two fouls, substitution fouls, that are considered simultaneously with the snap, which means if the ball is snapped, we do not kill the play. It's a live ball foul, and it can be enforced back at the previous spot. All right. So what are these fouls? Oh, let me go this way. I forgot this. Okay. So live ball fouls is observe, delay, react. Right. With dead ball fouls is observe, react. With live ball fouls, observe, delay, react. Out of the mechanics manual, observe live ball fouls, withhold the whistle. We do not blow the whistle. Drop the penalty marker at the yard line and continue to observe the play, noting the location of the ball at the time of the foul. When the ball becomes dead, give the timeout signal twice, sound the whistle now, verbally report your information to the referee, give no visual signals, and make a mental note if the game clock was to start and snap. Now, so fouls simultaneously with the snap are fouls that happens when the ball is snapped, but we do not kill the play. All right. So what are these simultaneously with the snap fouls? Article 4, during a down, a replaced player or substitute who attempts to unsuccessfully leave the field and who does not participate in or affect the play constitute illegal substitution. All right. And in the case book which we read, if a replaced player or substitute attempts to leave the field but does not get off prior to the snap, the foul is considered as having occurred simultaneously with the snap, and the penalty is enforced from the previous spot. So although there was 12 on the field at the time of the snap, this is not a dead ball foul. I see a lot of young officials that blow it. I say, what are you doing? He's still in the field. I'm like, okay, it's not a dead ball foul. It's a foul. We throw our flag and we keep it moving. We keep it trucking. Understand, we're in a different basket now. We're in basket 2. All right. Player who's on the field trying to get off the field is a live ball foul. It's not a dead ball foul. All right. Out of the same basket, Article 5. An entering substitute shall be on his team's side of the neutral zone when the ball is snapped or free kicked. And then out of the case book, if an entering substitute is not on his team's side of the neutral zone at the snap, illegal substitution occurred, and to have occurred simultaneously with the snap. So look at these two fouls, right? So basically what we're saying is this. If that replaced player would have got off the field before the snap, would it have been a foul? We say, nope. If we say the substitute would have got on his side of the neutral zone before the snap, would it have been a foul? Nope. So if it wouldn't have been a foul in a condition, if it was done, if it was off the field or on the other side, then it didn't become a foul until the ball is snapped. That's what they call simultaneous with the snap. And fouls like this can be fixed up to the time the ball is snapped. Now, I had this year, I had one of my wing officials, brand new. We had a substitute coming on the field, was on the offensive side of the ball when the ball was snapped, and he killed the play. And I'm like, what are you doing? He says, he was on the other side. And I thought about it when I was doing this. Like, man, you know what? He probably thought it was encroachment. Because, if you jump off, you jump on the neutral zone or jump across, it's encroachment. But see, this is where we got to know the definitions. See, an entering substitute is not considered to be a player for encroachment restrictions until he's on his team's side of the neutral zone. So just because he was running on the offensive side of the football and the ball is snapped, he is not encroached because he's not considered encroachment until he get to the other side. So this is a live ball foul. We throw the flag and we keep officiating. Now, when I was doing this, I realized one thing. These fouls usually going to be on the defense. And the only reason why I thought about it is because the offense controls the snap. Right? Not saying that it can't happen on the offense, but the quarterback controls the snap. Couldn't see a quarterback snapping too fast when one of his teammates trying to get off the field or one of his teammates trying to get on this side of the neutral zone. It'd be kind of hard pressed to see that happen. So understand that most of the time you're going to see this is when a replaced player trying to get off the field. They made a last minute sub. The offense don't got to wait on the defense, and they snap the ball. Get what they call a free play. Or he's trying to get on the side of the neutral zone, the offense set the ball, and they got a free play. So understand that most of this thing happened on the defense. All right, we're going to recap. All right, and I'll unmute you. So we define substitution terms: players, substitute, replace players, and the 3-second rule. All right, we know a player is only 22 players on the field at any given time during the game. A player is always a player unless somebody replaced that player or somebody filled that player's vacancy. A substitute is one coming on the field to be a player. A substitute remains a substitute unless he communicates with either a teammate or a player, an official, participates, get information, or fill a vacancy, they become a player. A replaced player is the person leaving the field, being replaced, got to go within 3 seconds, or it's going to be a dead ball foul. We identify substitution foul before the snap, replaced player not leaving within 3 seconds, for example. And then we recognize substitution fouls simultaneously with the snap. Substitutes are not reaching the neutral zone in time. So, again, and the reason why I say that, because, we had an official that said, we wanted that because the player was didn't get off the field in time, that's a foul that got to be marked off from the succeeding spot or at the end of the run. I'm like, no. That foul needs to go back and be at the previous spot. Why? Because it's a foul simultaneously with the snap. It's in basket 2, not in basket 3, which we're going to cover next week. So understand the different baskets, help you understand how to enforce these fouls. All right? That is it. You can unmute yourself if you like. Oh, no, hold on. No, you can't. Give me a second.